Hello, dear learners. Assalamu alaikum. How are you, learners? Yes, I hope you are fine. You are not going outside at all and you are safe. Learners, this is Muhammad Kamruzzaman, Assistant Professor, Department of English, Milestone College, and I welcome you all to join our today's online class. Learners, our today's topic is changing narrative style. We'll solve two model questions today, but before that, let us see the rules of changing narrative style or changing speech at a glance. Learners, for changing speech, you need just to be careful about two things, that is, identifying the speaker and the change of the tense. Let us see. Learners, let us have a look on two important things about changing speech, that is direct speech to indirect one, before going to our today's scheduled practice. Learners, you can see if the reporting verb is in the present or future tense, then the tense of the reported verb will remain unchanged. And if the reporting verb is in the past tense, then the tense of the reported verb will be changed into corresponding past tense. Learners, if it is past tense, then it will be changed into corresponding past tense. Now let us see an example. Learners, you can see an example here. Rupa said, I was sick. Learners, you know here said it is a reporting verb, and I was sick is here reported verb. So according to the rules of narration or changing speech, if this reporting verb is in the past tense, then this reported verb will be changed according to corresponding past tense. You can see the example, learners. Rupa said, I was sick. Now was has been changed into indirect one. Rupa said that she had been sick. So was has been changed into had been. It is called corresponding past tense. Learners, let us see some changes of tense, that is corresponding past tense. That is, for present indefinite tense, it will be changed into past indefinite. For present continuous tense, it will be changed into past continuous tense. For present perfect tense, it will be changed into past perfect tense. And for past indefinite tense, it will be changed into past perfect tense. For past continuous tense, it will be changed into past perfect continuous tense. Now learners, there are some other changes. You know, all these are very familiar to you. But one thing, for shall, when we need to change shall into past tense, we must use would, not should, because should means a compulsion. It refers mandatory or obligatory something. So for changing speech, if we find shall will be changed into would, not to should. Then will to would, can, could, may for might, and one important thing, that is must. If we find must, we need to change had to. Instead of must, we'll write had to. But if must means any mandatory or obligatory something, then we will write must. That is, it will remain unchanged. Okay, learners, you know there are some other changes, but this is only just to give you a reminder. Learners, this will be changed to that, this for those, here will be changed there, ago, before. But one important thing, come, if you find come will be changed into go. But very often we see you don't change this very verb come, you keep it as it is, but come should be changed into go. Then now for then, today, that day. You know all these things. Tomorrow will be changed into the next day. Yesterday, the previous day. Next week, next month, or next year will be changed into the following week, following month, or the following year. Learners, yes, you know there are some other changes. If you find yes, then instead of yes, to make it indirect one, will write in the affirmative or positively. For no, we'll write in the negative or negatively. And if we find sir, we'll use respectfully or with respect. But if we find any address that is like my son or my friend, then instead of this turn my son or my friend, will write addressing as son or addressing as friend. And if you find some swearing like by Allah or by God, and then instead of this by Allah, by God, we'll clear it swearing by Allah or swearing by God. So learners, let's go for our today's practice. Learners, now our first model question is changing narrative style direct speech to indirect speech. Let us see. Learners, you can see our today's model question, special model test 108, that is 108. Our question number 5, change the narrative style by using indirect speeches. Learners, let's go ahead. Yes, you can see the question. Our today's question is, okay, let us first read out the question. Follow my example, she said as we shook hands. I never eat more than one thing for luncheon. I will do better than that, I retorted. I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. Humorist, she cried gaily, jumping into the cab. You are a humorist. Learners, you know, or for your information, this dialogue has been taken from the short story The Luncheon, and when the writer and his lady guest had finished their lunch, they were outside the restaurant. Just they were waiting for the cab. At that time, they were shaking their hands to say goodbye. At that moment, her guest advised her, follow my example. Okay, learners, if we try to solve this passage narration sentence by sentence, then it will be easier for us to understand. Learners, you can see the first sentence said by the lady guest, follow my example, she said as we shook hands. That is when we were shaking hands for farewell, that is to say goodbye. At that moment, she advised, follow my example and never eat more than one thing for luncheon. So learners, as it is imperative sentence, it starts with a verb follow. So according to the rules of imperative sentence, we will try to solve this. Let us see the answer. As we shook hands, that is, I have said you, they were waiting for the cab and they were just waiting to say them goodbye. So as they were shaking their hands, as we shook hands, she advised me to follow her example and never to eat more than one thing for luncheon. Next. Now it's my turn. I replied. What I said, I will do better than that. I retorted. I retorted means I replied or I said. I will do better than that. I retorted. I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. So learners, here the speaker is I, so it's me or it's you yourself, and you have already told two sentences one after another. That is, I will do better than that and I will eat nothing for dinner tonight. Let's go for the solution. Yes, you can see. I retorted that I would do better than that. And I retorted that means I replied. I retorted that I would do better than that, and added that yes, I have told two sentences one after another. Then I should use and added that I would eat nothing for dinner that night. Tonight has been changed to that night. Okay, go for the next. Last one, it was her dialogue. Humorist. She cried gaily, jumping into the cab. You are a humorist. Again, she uttered two sentences. First one is humorist. It is word, and at the same time it is a sentence. Humorist. That is, I was a humorist. And last one, you are a humorist. So learners, go for the solution. Yes, you can see. That is jumping into the cab, she cried out gaily, calling me a humorist. He said only humorist. It meant you are a humorist. So it will be changed, calling me a humorist, and exclaimed with wonder that I was a humorist. Learners, you see here, you are a humorist. It was in the present tense. So to make it indirect one, we need to change its tense, and we have written here, I was a humorist. Learners, I hopefully believe that you have understood how to change narrative style from direct speech to indirect speech. Now we'll solve another question, and it is just the opposite to previous one. Now we'll solve indirect speech to direct one. Let us see. Learners, our next practice is special model test 110, that is 110. But now you can see just the reverse, that is change the narrative style by using direct speech. So previous one was direct to indirect, but now this one is from indirect speech to direct speech. Let's go ahead. You can see the passage narration given in indirect speech. So it's a big one. I like to read it first. I asked him what animals they had been. He replied that there had been 3 animals altogether. He also said that there had been 2 goats and a cat, and then there had been 4 pair of pigeons. Being surprised, I asked him if he had to leave them. He replied in the affirmative and said that he left them because of the artillery, and added that the captain had told him to go because of the artillery. So learners, if we observe this passage narration given in the indirect speech, there are 2 speakers. The first one is I, that is you yourself, or it's me, myself. And the second one is he, 2 speakers, I and he. Okay learners, let us go for the solution. You can see the first sentence is I asked him. So it is an interrogative sentence. So see the solution. The first one, I asked him what animals they had been. One thing for your information to draw your attention, that it is given had been, that is past perfect tense, and I have already told you now we have to do just reverse what we have done in case of a direct speech to indirect one. Now it will be just a reverse to make it direct one. So it is given had been past perfect tense. Now we need to turn it in past tense only. Let's see the answer, as it was an interrogative sentence. So the answer is, what animals were they? I asked. There were 3 animals altogether, he said. So his reply was in the past perfect tense, and we have used here only past tense. There were 3 animals altogether. Okay, learners. Then he also said that there had been 2 goats and a cat, and there had been 4 pair of pigeons. So learners, there had been and had been. So again 2 past perfect tenses, and we need to change it into past tense only, as it is indirect to direct one. So let's see the answer. Yes, he said there had been is now changed into were. There were 2 goats and a cat, and then there were 4 pair of pigeons. Hope you understand. Learners, now being surprised, I asked him, again interrogative sentence, I asked him if he had to leave them. If he had to leave them, it is in the past tense. He replied in the affirmative and said that he left them. Again it is given in the past tense. He left them because of the artillery, and added that the captain had told him to go because of the artillery. Okay, let's see our answer. I asked him, and you have to leave them. As it was in the past tense, now we have used here present tense. And you have to leave them, I asked him. Now, what was her answer? He replied, yes, because of the artillery. The captain told me to go because of the artillery. So learners, I hope you have understood it. Now, this time we have changed indirect speech to direct one. So the changes of verb was just the opposite, just the reverse to the first one, that is direct to indirect one. Learners, I believe that you have watched the class carefully and you have really enjoyed it. Now changing narrative style, that is direct speech to indirect one or indirect speech to direct one, is really very easier to you. So learners, stay safe, stay good. We'll meet again on another day on another class. Till then, bye bye.